Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today we read 3 true scary stories from r/LetsNotMeet. Let's begin. Our first story is from EliBbox. There were 2 guys on my balcony with knives. I was living in the Fiji Islands back in 2016, and I was 14 years old. This story happened to my family, but mainly my mom lived it. It was on the 31st of October, and I was at my school for a Halloween-based party, and my parents and my little sister were gone to a family friend's Halloween party, so the house was empty. My party finished at 9 p.m., and my dad came to pick me up, but dropped off my mom and sister at the house because our security alarm was ringing. Because nobody was home, my family obviously called the security company over, and they sent a van with 3 security guards. My mom opens the house and lets everyone in. They check the whole house, and they see no one. My mother checks all of the cupboards, and under the bed, with my little sister who was only 12 at the time. The security guards go outside, in the garden, and in the basement, to check if there was anyone, and that it's not an accidental ring. We do not have any pets. My mom turns on all the lights from the living room and the balcony. She starts to open the window and the gates that protect all the windows to get to the balcony. But when she looks through the keyhole, she notices flip-flops on the floor. She then looks closer and sees 2 pair of legs hiding really close to each other, against the wall, under a garden sofa. My mom yells out of her lungs. They're on the balcony. The 2 guys got scared and jumped off of the balcony into my garden. One of the guards grabbed the guy, but the second intruder jumps onto the guard and they run away, jumping over the fence and running into the forest. My mother regrets yelling that if she had come down and talked to the security guard quietly, the guys wouldn't have ran and probably would have been caught. My mother is crying, holding my sister to her side and telling her everything will be okay. The security then called the police, and they did a report, described the guys, and started a search. The cops were here in a minute, since I lived 100 meters away from the closest police station. The guys who jumped lost their hat and flip-flops, and they left socks to use as gloves, and 2 knives. Sadly, the guys were never found again, but 2 weeks later, my mom pulls out of the driveway, looks in the rearview mirror of her car, and is 90% sure that the 2 guys are there, at the opposite house to ours, staring at her. The short one had the same new hat, and the other guy had brand new flip-flops. When my mom drove away to the police station, the guys were gone, and never to be found again. I got home after, with my dad, to my mom and my sister crying. My dad was mad that he didn't stay, but my mom had drank and could not drive. Luckily, my mom saw them before she opened the window. Otherwise, who knows what could have happened. Now, how did the 2 guys get on the balcony? Well, it is going to sound stupid, but right next to the balcony, where they were hiding, there are 2 wooden poles linked to a weird plank. It is not to hang any clothes or whatsoever, but just there. My dad asked the landlord to get rid of them, but the landlord did not want to. To give more about this pole thingy, me at 15, 16 when I was already 6 foot, I could climb up and jump onto the balcony because I did it to sneak out of the house to go see my girlfriend at the time. I am now 21 and live in Australia, and even though I did not live through this myself, it really scared me because I was young, and now that I live alone, I check the entirety of my house to make sure that it is always locked, to the point that I lock myself out of my house way too many times. And being a fan of these kinds of stories, My parents and sister have moved on, but I have not. Our second story is from Hemogoblin, Sunglasses Stalker. So this happened a long time ago, but I've never forgotten it, as it was one of the strangest encounters me and my family have ever had. One time as a child, I went with my family to the grocery store. It was our monthly trip to stock up on groceries, so we're going to be there a while. I was about 12 at the time, so by that age, I had a good understanding of how to read people. We started in the produce aisle, and suddenly, a strange man caught my eye. He was standing awkwardly close to us, sort of fake browsing the vegetables. His body language seemed off. He was standing with his back to us, but something seemed strange about the way he was positioned. As we slowly made our way down the aisle, he would slowly rotate, so his back was always facing us. As we got a little closer, I could tell he was wearing those see-behind glasses, those gimmick sunglasses that have hidden mirrors on the inside of the lenses, so you can see behind yourself. He had a dirty gray zip-up jacket on, and long, dark, messy hair. He had to be in his 40s. Our shopping went on, and wherever we went, I would see him standing there, staring at me from across the store. He would keep his distance from us, but he was always within eyesight no matter where we were in the store. In about 30 minutes, my mom still hadn't noticed, but he was starting to really creep me out. My mom didn't believe me at first. Eventually, we got to the refrigerator aisle, and this is when it got weird. Whatever aisle we were in, he would quickly pace past us occasionally. At this point, he wasn't even trying to look like he was shopping. My mom and sis were starting to notice this and also seemed concerned. At one point, we were grabbing something off of one of the shelves, and I could see him just standing in the opposite aisle, peeking through the shelves at us. His sunglasses were on still, but now his hood was up. We started to walk faster and do some random zigzags around the store to see if he was really following us and to try and lose him. But he would keep up, all in a very sneaky way at that. He would always be at the opposite end of the aisle, but he kept up with us the whole time. By this point, my mom was concerned, so we pushed the cart up to the customer service area to talk to a manager about it. By this point, we'd lost him. We informed the manager, and she was very helpful. She actually went to go find the guy and talk to him. We waited at the counter until she paced back up to us, a confused look on her face. She walked up to my mother and told us, "He said, 'You're his mom?'" By this point, my mom and sister were concerned. The manager rang us up and said that we should leave and that they will escort the strange man. We walked out to the car, staying close to our mother when we were met with a horrible sight. The man just standing across the parking lot, across from our car, with his head slightly tilted with a big grin on his face. We floored it out of there, but we could still see him just standing there, watching us leave. Whoever that guy was in the sunglasses, let's not meet again. Our last story is from Pity. I recorded the moment a guy came to my house with a gun. Video in the original post. I am in university right now, but staying with my parents at their house for the summer. I was hanging out with one of my friends and we decided to go to a party. I met this guy around my age. We were talking and having a bit of fun, but it was nothing too serious, or so I thought. We exchanged phone numbers, We hung out a couple of times, but he became incredibly clingy right from the start. So I decided to distance myself in the hope that he would get the hint and back off. Well, he didn't. When I stopped responding, he sent me over 100 messages, with each message becoming increasingly more aggressive as time went on. Keep in mind, it had been less than 2 weeks since we first met. I finally responded and told him he needed to chill out. He appeared to calm down a bit after I responded, but he then asked for a phone call. I agreed, and we talked for a while. He told me that he couldn't stop thinking about me, that I was the best thing that ever happened to him, etc. Just a bunch of stuff that is way too intense to say to someone you barely know. I tried to let him down gently, reminding him that I was only home for the summer and wasn't looking for anything serious beyond a fling, but this only made him angrier. He started yelling at me, insulting me, calling me a slur. Basically, a complete 180 from what he had been saying mere minutes ago. Then all of a sudden, the phone went silent. After a pause, he said in a quiet voice, "You had better get ready, because I am coming over for you." And then he hung up the phone. This was very frightening, because he knew my parents were out of town for the week, and that I was staying at their house alone. However, he didn't know where my parents' house was because I was always the one driving, and he didn't know my friend either, so I thought he had no way of figuring it out. Since, again, I'm normally living at school in another state, regardless, I locked all the doors and shut the blinds just in case. After a while, maybe an hour or so, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I looked at my phone and saw a notification on my lock screen. It was from the Ring app, indicating that there had been movement on my parents' camera. It was him. If you watch the video, you can clearly see something in his hand. When he notices the camera, however, he left. I immediately blocked him on everything and reported the incident. I have no idea what he planned to do once he got here, but it was terrifying to realize that he had come over when I was asleep and defenseless and completely unaware of his presence. As I would later find out, he was able to get my address from my phone number. Apparently he Googled it, and it returned my dad's name as the owner of the phone number along with my parents' address. Since I am on my parents' phone plan, I guess it shows up that I still live here. This revelation was fucking horrifying, as I never knew my phone number could reveal my home address. I am still extremely upset that this kind of private information is on the internet for anyone to find, as it is incredibly dangerous that websites will just give this away to anyone. Please learn from my mistakes, and do not give anyone your phone number unless you trust them. I found out that you can get a free Google Voice number and text and call people, and that number can't be traced back to you so easily. My advice is to use a disposable number for anyone you're talking to that you might meet informally or online. I still can't sleep at night. Hopefully, this never happens to anyone else. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read with the author's permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Want to support me? Check the link below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close.